You've probably already checked on your phone battery twice today. I know I have. Or maybe you're already looking for a charger. But here's what a lot of people don't know or realize is the lithium in your phone battery, it's coming from an open mine pit somewhere. And if it's not coming from a pit, it's probably coming from an evaporation pond that covers miles of a desert. There's a power plant in California that's about to become a lithium mine in a sense, and it won't even need to dig a hole in the ground. And if this works, it could completely change how America gets its lithium. So let me tell you about what's going on here. There's a place in California called the Salton Sea. It's not really a tourist destination. It's hot, it's shrinking, and it's one of the poorest regions in the state. But a mile beneath the surface, there's a superheated water that's called a geothermal brine. And for 40 years, power companies have been pumping this brine up. And now, instead of just pulling the brine out and getting energy and electricity from it, we're going to start seeing if we can also pull out the lithium that's in these brines. The technology is called Direct Lithium Extraction, sometimes called DL, and it's pretty straightforward. The geothermal plant pumps up this super hot salty brine, and so we're talking about 300 degrees Fahrenheit from over a mile underground, and they run it through turbines to generate electricity like they always have. But before they re-inject that brine back down into the ground, they pass it through a special material that acts as kind of like a molecular sieve. This material, and the companies are pretty secretive about exactly what it is, it kind of acts like a magnet where it draws out the lithium ions and lets everything else pass through. Think about it like a very picky magnet that only attracts one thing. And once that lithium is captured, they process it into a lithium hydroxide, which is what battery manufacturers actually need. The whole process takes just hours, which is a lot less than the months or years that it usually takes to extract lithium from the ground. And then the brine is re-injected underground to get reheated, and the cycle starts all over again. We call this a closed loop system. And so what makes this way different than typical lithium mining is the footprint and the speed at which it can be done. In South America, lithium extraction uses massive evaporation ponds. So these are square miles of desert covered in shallow pools that sit there for 12 to 18 months. In Nevada and Australia, lithium comes from open pit mines. Extracting lithium from brines instead uses the infrastructure that we already have, so it already exists. No new mines, no evaporation ponds, just using a kind of add-on to power plants that have already existed for decades. Right now, most of the world's lithium comes from just a few places: Chile, Australia, China. And the US imports about 80% of its lithium that we need for batteries. So if you're trying to build millions of electric vehicle and grid-scale batteries to store that wind and solar panel, well, there's kind of a problem if you don't have enough lithium. The Salton Sea alone could potentially supply a large percentage of current global lithium demand once all the projects there scale up. The first facility, run by a company called EnergySource, is targeting trial operations in 2026 with full production by late 2027. And they're planning to produce 20,000 metric, and they could produce enough lithium for millions of EV batteries per year. Controlled Thermal Resources has another project, but keep in mind the technology isn't proven at scale yet. The Salton Sea brines are notoriously difficult to work with, and they're extremely hot and chemically complex, which has broken down some of the extraction materials companies have tried to use. There are also legitimate environmental concerns. Even though it's cleaner than traditional mining methods for lithium, we're still talking about industrial scale operations in a region that already has serious air quality control problems. The local community has already been pretty vocal about what's going on there, and they want to make sure that they're protected and they're guaranteed to benefit from all of this too. And thinking about it economically, lithium prices have actually crashed over the last 18 months, going from about $85,000 per metric ton to $19,000. So that makes the economics for these new industrial scale projects much tighter. These companies to prove they can do it profitably at that price point. So this technology won't miraculously fix battery supply chains overnight, but it's got some interesting ideas in play. Pulling the lithium from water that we're already extracting as part of our renewable power plants. So if companies can make this work, we could have commercial scale domestic lithium production in place in the later part of this decade. So next time somebody talks about where the material for the batteries come from, you can answer, maybe it could come from the same hot water we've been using to power regions of the US for decades. Would knowing your EV lithium and the battery's lithium was coming from a more sustainable source make you feel better about this whole energy revolution? Drop a comment below because I'm curious what you all think about this. Have a wonderful day.